class, good afternoon. Okay, so today in our biology, we are going to continue looking at the topic on enzymes. In today's lesson, we are going to look at optimum enzyme reaction. Optimum enzyme reaction. Now, the things that we are going to discuss in today's lesson are very, very important. So, as such, I want you to pay very close attention because here there are exam issues that the Examination Council of Zambia loves to bring in your exams. Yeah. So, to start with, you must understand that enzymes work very well when certain conditions are right. Enzymes are very, very sensitive, systems. Because they are very sensitive, you will find that you can't put them in any environment and expect them to work well. They love being in an environment that is suited specifically for them. Okay? So, you should also understand the fact that conditions that mainly affect the work of enzymes are, number one, temperature. So, the temperature of an environment affects the way these enzymes work. The other condition that affects the work of enzymes is the levels of pH. Remember, pH simply measures the acidity or the alkalinity of a particular environment. So these two conditions affect the speed at which enzymes work. Okay? So this is the background that you must have when you are trying to understand optimum enzyme reaction. Now, let's start by looking at optimum temperature. Optimum temperature. So, optimum temperature is defined as the temperature at which an enzyme works at its very best. So, at optimum temperature, you have an enzyme that is working at its very best level. Here, the speed at which the enzyme is working is at the highest level. So, when you reach the optimum temperature, the enzyme will work at its highest speed right here. So, what you must understand here is the fact that at the optimum temperature, an enzyme shows the highest catalytic activity. So let me break this down for you so that you must understand exactly what is expected of you. So here we have the rate of the reaction. Remember, the rate of the reaction simply means the speed of a particular chemical reaction. So on the x-axis, we have the temperature. So when the temperature is at 0, or when the temperature is at its lowest, here an enzyme is inactive. It is not active at this particular rate. So as you continue increasing the temperature, you will see that the speed of, the reaction that is being catalyzed by an enzyme also goes up. So as you continue increasing the temperature, you are going to reach at that temperature where the enzyme activity is at its highest. The speed at which the enzyme is working is at its highest. That temperature there is what we call the optimum temperature. So the optimum temperature is simply the amount of temperature at which the speed of enzyme action is at its very highest. The highest point in enzyme catalyzed reaction is what we call the optimum temperature, the temperature right there. So now, what happens is, as you continue increasing the temperature, you are going to go past the optimum temperature. When you go past the optimum temperature, the shape of an enzyme will start to denature. Remember what we explained in the previous lesson? I explained the fact that when an enzyme is denatured, it loses its original shape. So as you continue heating, or as you continue increasing the temperature of an enzyme, its shape will be lost. When the shape of an enzyme has been lost, we can say that that enzyme has been denatured. So as you continue increasing the temperature, the enzyme reaction starts to slow down until it comes back to zero. At this point where the rate of reaction goes back to zero, the enzyme is completely denatured. At this point, the enzyme is not active. At this point, the enzyme is completely denatured. Its shape is completely lost. All right? So this is how you interpret the optimum temperature graph. For you to understand this temperature graph even better, we can interpret it here much further. Like I said, on the y-axis, you are going to have an increasing rate of reaction. So here, the reaction starts from 0 and it increases in speed as you increase the temperature. So when the temperature is at 0, the enzyme action is also at 0, because here the enzyme is not active. It is too cold for the enzyme to act. So as you are increasing the temperature, the enzyme starts to act slowly. That is why the graph is going this way. So as you continue increasing the temperature, the enzyme activity will also increase. In other words, the speed at which the enzyme is doing its work will continue to increase with the increase in temperature. So you are going to be increasing the temperature until you reach the highest point of enzyme activity. The point at which the enzyme activity is high, is the highest, is what we call the optimum temperature. So you are going to read the optimum temperature at that very point. In us human beings, the optimum temperature is around 37 degrees Celsius. So when the temperature of the body is at 37 degrees Celsius, all the enzymes in the body work at their very highest level of speed. Now, what happens is, when the body temperature goes below 36 degrees Celsius or above 42 degrees Celsius, a person can die. That's the thing. Let me explain. We know that in the body of the human being, the enzymes work well when the body temperature is at around 37 degrees Celsius. When the body temperature starts to go high, you start to reach 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. What will happen is that the enzymes in your body will start to denature. In other words, they will start losing their shape. So when the enzymes in your body loses their shape, they cannot do the work that they're supposed to do. And when enzymes stop working, it simply means that all the important chemical reactions that are supposed to take place in your body will stop. And when the chemical reactions that are supposed to take place in your body stop, it means the body can no longer function. And if the body can no longer function, life cannot be supported. That is why it is always dangerous when a person is sick and their temperature starts to go high. you start worrying, because once the temperature rises above 42 degrees Celsius, that human being cannot be expected to survive, because all the enzymes in the body will be denatured, and once those enzymes in the body have been denatured, a human being cannot continue to survive. The same happens when the body temperature falls below 36 degrees Celsius. So what will happen is, once the body temperature falls below 36 degrees Celsius, you start to hit 35 degrees, 34 degrees and so forth and so on. The enzymes in the body will work at a slow pace that the body does not support. Once the enzymes start to work at that very slow pace, it means the chemical reactions in the body will be too slow that life can no longer be supported. So the temperature of the human body must be within the range of 36 degrees Celsius and 42 degrees Celsius. Anything lower than this or anything above this can kill a human being. But the best temperature at which the enzymes in the body work is around 37 degrees Celsius. So, as you are learning your biology, and then you are trying to understand the topic on enzymes, this is one of the factors, or this is one of the areas that you must pay very close attention to. Yeah. Once you've understood how temperature affects enzymes, and then you've understood the concept of optimum temperature, we can now look at the optimum pH. Yeah. Now, optimum pH is defined as the pH level at which an enzyme works at its very best. All right? Okay? So, at optimum pH, the activity of an enzyme is at its very highest level. Okay? So, let me explain this as well. So here on the y-axis, we have the rate of reaction of an enzyme. When we say rate of reaction, we just mean the speed at which an enzyme is working. So when the pH level is at this point, an enzyme is denatured here. Okay? Equally, when the pH level is at this point, an enzyme is denatured as well. In other words, at these 2 points of pH level, the shape of an enzyme is distorted. The shape of an enzyme is destroyed. But when the pH is at that level, at the highest level of enzyme action, here we have the optimum pH. At optimum pH, the speed of an enzyme catalyzed reaction is at its highest point. So that point there is what we call the optimum pH. Let me explain this further so that you can understand how to interpret the optimum pH scale or the optimum pH graph. All right. Now, on the y-axis, you are going to find the speed at which the enzyme is working. Okay? So at that rate of pH, the enzyme is denatured. Equally, at that rate of pH level, the enzyme is denatured. As you increase the pH level, the enzyme starts to work best until it reaches its highest working capability in terms of pH. So for this particular enzyme, its optimum pH is the pH of 8, as you can see. That line there comes to the pH of 8. So in case you are asked to state the optimum pH of this particular enzyme, you must say the optimum pH of this particular enzyme is the pH of 8. Okay, so like I already explained, you must remember that pH is a measure of how acidic or alkali an environment is. And then you must also know that pH affects the shape of an enzyme. The pH will affect the shape of a particular enzyme. That's the thing. So if we are to compare the way different enzymes work in different pH environments, this is what you're going to say. I did mention the other time that some enzymes work well in an acidic environment, whereas some enzymes work well in an alkaline environment. So you will find that the pH scale has got numbers from 0 to 14. Numbers from 0 to 7. Numbers that are below 7 indicate that you are operating in an acidic environment. Numbers that are above 7 indicate that you are operating in an alkaline environment. 7 is a neutral number. At 7, you are neither acidic nor an alkaline. All right, that's the thing. So when we look at this enzyme pepsin, for example, you can see that its optimum pH is at around 2. Pepsin works well when the pH level is at 2. That there. Okay, so we can see that 2 is below 7. So we can tell that the enzyme pepsin works better in an acidic environment, and that acidic environment must have a pH level of about 2. When we compare another enzyme, the enzyme trypsin, this enzyme is found in the intestines of a human being. Now, when it comes to this enzyme trypsin, it works well at the optimum pH of around 8.5. And as you can see, 8 is above 7. So this enzyme trypsin works better in an alkaline environment. So you find that those enzymes that work best in acidic environment will have pH levels that are less than 7. Those enzymes that work best in an alkaline environment will have a pH, an optimum pH that is above 7, like we have seen in the case of trypsin. That is what you must understand. Now, to put this lesson in perspective, this is the issue. In the introduction to the topic on enzyme, I taught you that enzymes have got specific shapes. For example, we have this enzyme that is shaped like this. This enzyme can work on a substrate that has got this shape. A particular enzyme has got its own shape, and that shape is important because it will fit well in a particular substrate. So what will happen is, when this substrate comes to this enzyme, they will form what we call the enzyme substrate complex. As you can see, this substrate here is fitting well in the active site of this particular enzyme, like that. Now, what happens is this. When you increase the temperature of an environment where a particular enzyme is working, its shape will be lost. Remember, enzymes are proteins, and when you hit any protein, it loses its shape. So when you increase the temperature of the environment where that particular enzyme is working from, it will lose its shape, such that when this substrate comes to this enzyme that has been denatured because of the increase of temperature, this enzyme substrate complex will not happen. And if the substrate cannot fit in an enzyme, it means no, this particular, chemical reaction will not happen. So if chemical reactions are too slow, it means this particular chemical reaction will not be sped up. It will happen very slowly. The same thing happens when you put an enzyme in a wrong pH. When you put an enzyme in a wrong pH, its shape will be denatured. And just like it happens for temperature, when an enzyme has lost its shape, the substrate can't be worked on because that particular substrate cannot fit in a particular enzyme. So if a substrate cannot be worked on, then all the chemical reactions that involve that particular substrate will stop. So that is why it is important for enzymes to work within the range of temperature or pH that they've been designed to work in. I hope you are understanding. So this is the lesson on optimum temperature and optimum pH. So what is very important in this particular lesson is for you to learn how to interpret the optimum pH graph and the optimum temperature graph. With this said, let me wish you a good day. I'll see you again later when we shall look at the last aspect of the topic on enzymes.